All right, this video is going to walk you through how to find the missing sides of a 30, 60, 90 triangle. The first thing you need to understand, first of all, is how do the sides relate? You have three sides in the 30, 60, 90. So you have a 60-degree angle and a 30-degree angle. The short side, that's what you need to first of all focus on. This short side builds the entire triangle. So once you decide what the short side is going to be, you simply take that short side distance and multiply it by square root of 3 to find the longer leg. That's what we have identified here. So this is the longer leg. Multiply by square root of 3, that gives you 5 square root of 3. That should be pretty easy to come up with. And then the other part is the hypotenuse. If you don't ever see the hypotenuse, you can always drive a road through the actual box, and where that ends up is at the hypotenuse. So this is the hypotenuse side right here. The hypotenuse is always found by going to your shortest side and multiplying it by 2. So if you multiply that by 2, 5 times 2 will give you 10. That's the length of the hypotenuse. Those kind of triangles are going to be your easiest when you start with the shortest side. Now in this next one you might start on the hypotenuse, but you have to remember how you got here in the first place. You multiplied by square root of 2 to get here, or by 2 to get here. So to go backwards you have to do the opposite of multiplying by 2, which is to divide by 2. So then 14 divided by 2 will give you 7. That's the length of the shortest side right here, next to the 60-degree angle. Again, this has got 60 degrees right here. This is 30 right here. The longer leg, which is connected to the box also, this longer leg is always found by taking your shortest side, in this case 7, and multiplying by square root of 3. So this also is not too difficult to do as well. That'll just become 7 square root of 3. Now, as you can notice, these first two triangles are quite easy. If you start here or start here, you can work your way back to the other longer leg. The longer leg is the more difficult side to figure out and work with. Because when you start on this one now, if you ever start here, you got to remember how we got here. So remember, the square root of 3 side is next to the 30-degree angle, and this longer leg is the square root of 3 sides. Remember which one's more difficult? This is the square root of 3 side because you had to multiply by square root of 3 to get here. Now if you want to go backwards to the short side, you have to do the opposite of multiply by square root of 3. So that 18 you got there is going to be divided by the square root of 3. Now you could put this in the blank and say 18 over square root of 3. That is technically mathematically a decimal that would work out for that length. However, we don't want to express fractions with square roots in the denominator. We can cancel the square root of 3 in the denominator by simply multiplying the top and the bottom by the square root of 3. So if I do that, the top just stays 18 square root of 3, so 18 square root of 3 over, now the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is square root of 9, but the square root of 9 is 3. Now you're going to think that's the answer. However, there's still more you can do because the outside numbers can still reduce. These outside numbers, if those can be reduced, 18 divided by 3, that does reduce down to 6. So this then finally reduces down to 6 square root of 3. So the length of your shortest side in this little spot right here is going to be 6 square root of 3. Now, as you try to go on to the hypotenuse, you always, like all these examples, you take the short side, multiply it by 2, multiply by 2, multiply this by 2. But when you multiply that by 2, it's the front number that you're going to only double to get the hypotenuse. So when I double this 6 right here, you're going to then get 12 square root of 3 for the final hypotenuse value. So it depends on what kind of triangle you start with on these 30, 60, 90 triangles. If you start with the short side, that's easy. Multiply by 2, square root of 3. Again, if you start here, divide that by 2 backwards. The opposite of this is then divide by 2 to get 7, then times the square root of 3. Lastly, if you start on this side right here, the longer leg, you have to divide by square root of 3 to go backwards, which then creates this kind of fraction that you then get rid of the square root of 3 by multiplying it to the top and the bottom. If you have any outside numbers that can reduce them, and then as you move from this statement here to the hypotenuse, you double the coefficient out in front. That's it, and hope this video helps. Good luck on your questions as well.